speaking of games that are old, Sonic Generations. Don't laugh at me. That was a perfectly
Because the moment you said, I was
constructed
like,
segue.
100%. I know where you're going with this. Just run with it. It's cool.
Is it Generations?
It's Sonic Generations. Yeah. Well,
I think this came out in 2010 or 2011.
It's 2010, 2011.
initially,
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get. Let me just timestamp this. Do you know?
I remember the Sonic specifically because, like, when it was advertised, it was like, Sonic is back. You know, we've got classic Sonic, we've got Thin Boy Sonic, we've got not Shadow at the time, but it was like generations. We were looking at the generations of this little blue hedgehog, and I was like, this is cool. And then I never played it because I don't like Sonic.
So I'm trying to remember where I captured this footage.
It's fine. I'll keep talking about Sonic. So the Sonic movies, pretty damn good.
I haven't watched the Sonic movies. Can you believe
that? First one, surprisingly fantastic. The second one, also really good. Really keen to see Keanu Reeves' Shadow in this new one. So keen. Okay, cool. We've got footage.
So I don't know. I can't remember if this is the beginning of the game. It's a blur. I rolled credits on.
It's a blur. It's a blue blur.
It's a blue blur. Okay, so Sonic Generations, you're right. Okay, it came out it is 2010, 2011. It's an old Sonic game that's been remastered. Okay. What they've done though is they've remastered this game, but also packaged in a new game called Shadow Generations. So this game's called Sonic and Shadow Generations because it's packaging these two games, the old one and a brand new one, into one thing. But there are two completely separate games. So Sonic Generations is what you're currently seeing the footage of now, where I can imagine in 2011 it was a marketing thing of like, whoa, like Sonic's back. And what we're going to do in this game is we're going to show you Sonic's origins, and we're going to like mash it with modern day Sonic. Because the whole premise of this game is that if you think Call of Duty's story is silly, okay, just close your eyes and never open them again with the Sonic story. Because the Sonic stories, there's like, I'm sorry, barely any effort that goes into the stories that I've played in recent years. It's like something happens and Sonic's got to run fast for reasons. Okay, we don't know why. He just has to run fast. But the basic premise is that there's some time shenanigans, dimension shenanigans happening here. And modern Sonic gets to hang out with the OG Sonic, as in like the very first Sonic, who can only do like 2D side running, if that makes sense.
Yes, the short and stout Sonic.
The short and stout one.
Yeah.
So the gameplay here is broken down into, you have like your overworld where you can choose your levels, but each level has 2 acts. Okay, and Act 1, you play as OG Sonic, where it's 90% 2D classic side-scrolling Sonic, okay? And then Act 2 is modern Sonic, where it's 3D, you run it's not like Super Mario Odyssey, for example, where it's like a 3D plane and you can like free roam and navigate. There are moments of that, but for the most part it's an on rails, you got to go fast, navigate, this path in front of you.
It's a Sonic roller coaster.
It's 100% a Sonic roller coaster, and that's what a modern day Sonic game. I don't know today so much what Sonic Frontiers, but that's what it was back then. And for Sonic fans, I'm sure great game. I have no doubt that I think Generations did do quite well when it came out. Like, I can see its merits, but it also made me realize that Sonic games just don't gel with me personally. Like, and that's not because I'm a Mario boy, because I am a Mario boy, or a Celeste boy, because I am. But maybe it is because in those games it's about precision platforming, right? Where you've got to jump from this platform to that platform, you've got to time it. Whereas Sonic, it's all about, you've got to go fast, okay? You're going to go through these at breakneck speeds through these levels, and you need to have like the muscle memory or the reflexes to know, I've got to jump, I've got to change platform, I've got to do this. Particularly in the later Sonic level, the modern day Sonic games. But where it frustrates me is that the telegraphing to me isn't fantastic, where you're going at a breakneck speed and you're busy changing. Like, so if you're looking at the footage, it's this, where you're sprinting, you're going forward at a breakneck speed. But this is an early level, okay? So there's very little room for error. But you get to levels where you're sprinting, you're jumping, suddenly there's a spark pit. I mean, it happens to me right now. I sprinted into an enemy. I'm like, how am I supposed to know you know. But I guess
That the
maybe that's
enemy's
part of the
there,
charm
yeah.
where you know, maybe that is the thing of you learn the level that it feels good to do it perfectly. Like I can appreciate that. But
It's
I
almost
just
like a time attack leaderboard thing at that point.
100%. And
Yeah.
there is an online component which, if I'm not mistaken, is you can, you know, compete with people globally, which is cool.
Mm.
But if you're just playing for a, you know, I just want to have a platforming experience, it can be incredibly frustrating. And you want to talk about how we spoke about earlier, where people put in effort into designing things that you'll probably never see. Sonic levels are multi-layered, which is not a bad thing, but it feels like once I've zoomed through, there's so much stuff I'm missing because I'm just
Yes,
flying
yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's it's not that there's anything wrong with the game. It's just something that I don't particularly enjoy. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I don't gel with it. Like I can appreciate when you get a feel for it and you go fast. Like we'll talk about the Shadow game in a bit. It's cool, but maybe this particular game is dated. That doesn't feel good by modern platforming standards. Like I think even modern day Sonic games are similar, right? Where you're doing this, you're going fast. But I think
100%, yeah. This is fundamentally a Sonic thing. Like,
yeah,
what
but
you're
I think
describing is kind of the problem people have had with Sonic ever since
if
he was
forever.
introduced, you know what I mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
Sonic 1, like, love Sonic for existing, but can you imagine? I mean, can't imagine this is what people did. You're playing this fast paced thing on a square screen where you can't see
Mm.
2 feet in front of you. Like,
Mm.
holy hell.
So, some people love it. I
I no,
don't. I mean,
100%.
I'm with you. I'm with you. To me, if you're marketing or you're trying to play Sonic as a platformer, it feels very strange because it
Mm.
is this like push and pull of continue going fast and precision platforming, which do not gel together at all.
No.
But as like a roller coaster of a thing, then it's like entertaining. But
Ah,
is it just an on rails experience or?
100%. But I mean, it's weird because even on some of the levels where, like, but as the more I played, the better I got at it because obviously I started getting a feel for, you know, how these games work. But even then, it's like there are times in levels where you sprinting, then it's like, okay, you at a floating platform and you need to jump from this into the next one, and you just lose all the momentum. I'm like, but
Mm,
why was it designed like this? You know, it
mm,
just
mm.
it just doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with Sonic per se, but I think it's, you know, you have to enjoy Sonic. You have to be in it for this fast pace, and you know, I'm going to play this level 30 times and I'm going to learn exactly where the enemies are so that I can perfect it. And you know what? If you took the time to do that, I'm sure it is very satisfying. Like, I can appreciate that. But I
Yeah.
mean, so if you played this back in the day, Sonic Generations remastered, it looks good. It plays well, you know, in terms of it does feel fluid in that. Um, what's cool as well is like it is a nice balance of the original Sonic and modern day Sonic, where, you know, when you play Act One as the original Sonic, it is you've got your typical you can only jump and you can charge, you know, hold down and charge a move to shoot forward, and like that's it. That's like how that
Mm-hmm.
Sonic feels, okay. Whereas if you play the, you know, the modern day Sonic in this game, you suddenly get access to his, you know, you see how the characters evolve because suddenly that Sonic can you can push R2 to dash. You can like teleport to enemies to take them out. You can slide. Like there's a whole move set, right? And it is cool seeing
Yeah.
that contrast of how the character's grown. But in 2024, I just feel like there's platforming. You know, we've learned a lot about how to do platform. Not me, like I'm not making this game, but developers, Sonic developers, and just developers in general have, you know, modernized, you know, platformers feel a certain way today, which this game does not, if that makes sense. But it brings me to Shadow Generations, where this is a standalone modern game, and it feels
Mm-hmm.
so much better. That game I played, and I had the same sort of hiccups where, you know, you're running and you die, or you fall into a pit of sparks, and it's frustrating. But I feel that this game was designed with modern sensibilities, where by like after the first 2-3 levels, all the levels that followed, I understood the formula and I was able to get through levels for the most part without headache, and it felt good.
Mm-hmm.
There it was like,
Mm.
oh, okay, I feel like this level, it's not explicit, right? Because you're still shooting through, but there must be a design DNA or something there that makes me go like, oh, I know I need to like jump here. I need to move left or right on these rails. And I'm able to get through the level with a lot less frustration compared to Sonic Generations. Like, does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I
Yeah.
mean, and even then, like, Shadow just controls differently. He has more moves. I was saying to you earlier before we started recording, why would anyone want to play Sonic when Shadow can do a double jump and Sonic
Yeah,
can't?
I mean, it seems like such a dumb thing, but like a double jump in this sort of context is huge.
Do you have any idea how helpful a double jump is in correcting your direction, or even just like giving you a moment to like jump up, pause, change direction, get on the right path? And even then, there are modern things where you see there's a lot of grinding in these games, right? Like you're on a rail going at a breakneck speed. In Sonic Generations, you fall off so much. Like you're a millimeter off. You just fall off that rail. You don't line it up perfectly. Shadow's game, there's obviously a modern thing where like there's a bit of a magnetic field there where even if you're slightly off, Shadow snaps to that railing. And I think like why could they not have modernized Sonic Generations to have that? Because it's a lot less frustrating. It's more forgiving. You don't lose that momentum. Yeah, it just felt like a way better game. And again, like I know I'm coming down hard on this, but if you're a Sonic fan, I have no doubt like this is a great package. If you're not a Sonic fan, like the Shadow game is, I'd recommend it. Like I did enjoy it. It's again, story's a bit silly, you know. Don't think too hard about it.
Of course. I mean, Shadow's whole like backstory is complete nonsense. And I'm so keen to see that addressed in the film. So very excited for that. It is weird to me that because like you were saying and we were saying before the show that this is almost like a Bowser's Fury-esque mode to this old game. Like they've essentially done the same thing. They've remastered an older Sonic game and then given it a whole new mode that like kind of teases the future. I do wonder if they'll look at the positive reception to Shadow's portion of the game and go, okay, well, we can build on top of this as opposed to just making more of the same Sonic, you know?
I mean, let's just, can I redeem myself a bit? I'm one of the few people who said Sonic Frontiers is like it gets way much.
Fair point. You did.
It gets more hate than it deserves. Like I agree, it's a flawed game, but as a you know, sort of tempted for a modern Sonic game, I was like, this could work. Like I'd play Sonic Frontiers 2, where they take lessons from the first game, 100%. Like that could work. If they take Sonic Frontiers and they, my favorite expression, let it have a little baby with Shadow Generations, I think you'd have a really good Sonic game. Honestly, you know, going fast and all. I mean, like Shadow's game, it is this thing of you're in this overworld where you can explore and there's little platforming things you can do, are completely optional, but it's an interesting way to navigate through levels. And again, his movements, I mean, he's got a double jump, he's got a dash like Sonic, he can shoot, like he's got a chaos beam, which is used in levels, some levels like Smart, where this is what I appreciate about games like this, when in the Shadow portion of the game where you're going fast, right? And it becomes a more of a reflex thing of like, oh, there's a hazard, you got to jump. Okay, now you've got to shoot that thing over there so it opens the gate. It becomes more of you reacting to the level and getting through it fast. That feels good.
Yeah.
Whereas the Sonic game, just, I think it's just a product of its time, where it probably was very good back then, I have no doubt, like with some flaws, but in 2024 it just feels like it's a little bit too rough around the edges for me. It's a little bit too unforgiving. Like the number of times I flew off a rail, or I'm going fast and I just take like a slight wrong turn and I just fly off the map, but I didn't know where to go. It wasn't clear.
Yes, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. And I think again it's just how Sonic has been for such a long time. Even the older games, like even new interpretations of them in Sonic Mania, there's still the 2D game that it's constantly fighting between like precise platforming and going fast. And even in the 2D stages I was watching you play here, there's still that fight between those two ideals of a platformer.
Yeah.
Like Sonic games traditionally don't feel super good when you're going at a normal pace, but when you're going super fast, there's not enough time to do anything meaningfully. Like you either just on rails or you are just waiting for the next thing that brings you to a grinding halt.
Yeah.
So I don't think the series is going to change now. It's been doing this for like decades at this point, and I think you're either on board with that sort of gameplay or it'll be very difficult for you to get on board now. But it's cool that shadows exist or shadow generations exist, so that there is something new in that franchise that maybe can grab your interest. And yeah, I mean, just looking at you playing it here looks pretty sick.
It's like I said, I'm coming down hard on the game, but I acknowledge like maybe I'm just not a Sonic guy, and that's fine. But I will say I enjoyed the shadow portion a lot more, and I'd be very keen to see what comes from this. Like, do they take lessons from this and honestly just mesh it with Sonic Frontiers? And I'd love to see what that looks like, and I would definitely play that to see. An
open world Shadow Frontiers sounds pretty good.
It's funny because I say, why would you play Sonic when Shadow just plays a lot? Feels better to me. You do want do they just shelf Sonic? Oh, we Shadow people now.
It's I mean, he's going to make a big splash in the film, and if like this is his time to shine. So if you're going to take advantage of that like cultural moments of like people know who the fuck Shadow is again, I say put him in an open world, give him a gun, let's go, let's do it again.
I wouldn't be surprised if the next like Sonic Frontiers 2 does give you the choice, like Shadow's there. It would make sense to me to let you have the choice to alternate between both. Like Sonic, it's a bit like the example's gone from me, but it's a bit like you can choose how to play. Do you want Sonic's moveset where Sonic is the one who can go down and roll up into a ball and dash forward? Shadow can't do that. Like maybe that's Sonic's thing, but if you want to have a double jump, like Shadow's your man.
They should just do it like Spider-Man 2, where you've got Shadow and Sonic specific missions, and then you can do the open world with either one.
So I couldn't think of the example, but that's the perfect example of it. There are moments where you play as Miles and Peter, but for the most part, if you want to play as one or the other, they feel different. They've got their own tricks and things up their sleeve. They move differently, but like the fundamentals are the same. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's again like I know I come down hard, but it's not a bad game. Like I think as a remaster goes, it's a very good package where there's a brand new game here. It would be, I don't know how Sonic Generations got away with it back in 2011 because the campaign itself is super short. It's like 4 hours. But
that's kind of wild.
There is side content, like there's challenge levels, and I mean, that stretches out the time. And it's the same, like the Sonic game took me 4 hours to finish. Shadow's game took me 4 hours, but that's because I like just fast tracked through both of them.
I'm very off-put at the way Sonic looks when he's in his little boost mode, because not Sonic, Shadow. Sonic turns into a little ball. Shadow just looks like he's in a T-pose and moving extremely quickly, and then he starts skating again. It's very strange to me.
That's strange.
Yeah. Cool. Sonic Generations, and is it just called Shadow Generations?
It's Sonic and Shadow Generations.
Cool. That's out now. If you need a little blue ball in your life, blue buzz ball, it's a drug. Pretty sure it's a drug. But we'll carry on.
There you go.